Hi, how are you? I am, like you, I'm going to be looking at the Chaim Soloveitchik article. I thought that if possible, what I'd like you to do is I would like you to take out the article, and I want to go over some of it with you together. So we're going to do that today. I'm going to be looking at the article. Uh, First, I suggest that you watch the Panopto recording on the Tosafot, and then we will go over some of this wonderful article by Chaim Soloveitchik. I'm going to be starting on page 80 of the article, and here he says, like canon law and most legal systems, Jewish law recognizes two types of coercion, because one is absolute and the other is relative. Remember, the discussion here is a discussion about martyrdom, whether it is okay to commit suicide, to take one's life, or is it better to convert? During the Crusades, Jews were put into this position where they found themselves in a position of being forcibly converted. They were tortured. Uh, uh, they were burned. Their homes were burned. Their synagogues were burned. They themselves were burned at the stake. This is the High Holy Day season for Jews. And when we go to the synagogue and we're in the synagogue, especially on the holiday that just passed, Yom Kippur, this is what we do. We think about how the Jews martyred themselves rather than become Christians. So this is very important to understand. I'm going back to my article right now. I have it next to me. And I want you to read the article so that you feel that you are being immersed in Talmud. You've learned a lot about the Talmud up until now. You're now learning a little bit about the Tosafot. And I want you to get a sense of this. You know, Jewish culture is a textual culture. We're a culture in which the word is very important. Uh, Among all the different civilizations, Jews were a written culture while others were oral cultures. So understanding how Jews use the text, understanding how they develop their legal arguments and all of this, is a really important way of understanding what it really means to be Jewish. And so we as Jews are very, very connected to the Word, okay, in every way, shape, and form. So on page 80, we learn that one of the important aspects of working through this question of martyrdom is to understand the meaning of coercion. And the argument evolves around the idea of either absolute coercion or relative coercion. Absolute coercion, he says, means someone throws me in front of an idol, says, there you are, kicks you, throws you in front of an idol, and says, here, you are, must become this religion, or you will be murdered, you'll die. Then he says relative coercion means I choose to bow down to the idol because I'm afraid I'm going to be murdered. I'm afraid of it. I feel like this is what's going to happen next to me. I better watch out. So that's the difference. In the former, Soloveitchik says, the individual's body is the object of another's action. In the latter, the person's will is the object of the coercion. So in one case, it's actually physical. Okay, there it is. There's the idol. Boom. You're now praying in front of it. You're bowed down because I forced you to bow down. Kind of like a person has a dog and says, sit. Okay, or down. Okay, That's the same kind of thing, what you say to your dog down or say to your dog sit. The other, okay, in relative coercion, the individual is using their own will. They have to freely kind of choose whether to, as Soloveitchik says, actively abjure his religion in order to avoid death. This distinction, Soloveitchik goes on to say, is maintained in the martyr imperative, and that's what he calls it, the martyr imperative. And where the victim is given a choice between compliance and between death. Now, here's another term, compliance. Compliance involves absolute coercion, does not require martyrdom. One involving relative coercion, where action is demanded of the individual, does. For example, should someone say, stand still so I can throw you down in front of the idol, otherwise I'll kill you? There's no imperative of martyrdom. A statement like bow down or I will kill you demands a martyr's response. Do you see how, this is just the only example I want to give you. Do you see now how maybe it could be argued one way or the other? I want you to go to your discussion for this class, and I want you to argue what you think this really means. And of course, draw on other parts of the article for it. Imagine, let's say, the Holocaust, and imagine this question as part of the Holocaust, which it is. When people went to their death in the Holocaust, could they fall into the category of martyrs? Why or why not? The idea of conversion and forced conversion is going to play a big role in this course because before the class ends, you will be studying the history of the Jews of Spain, where many Jews converted rather than died. So understanding what the Talmud says, especially what the glosses of the Tosafot say to us, have great meaning. I hope this little mini introduction helped you begin to read and get excited about reading that Soloveitchik article. It's not easy reading. We've had some things that have been easier and more accessible reading. This one is going to be a bit of a stretch, but I really think it's worth it. Okay, so I'm going to stop this video and upload it, and hopefully we'll be hearing from you in discussion. Okay, bye for now.